I paid my sister's bills for 4 years until I discovered she and her fiancé stole my investment, and I made their lives collapse overnight. I, a 32-year-old male, have been sending my sister money for 4 freaking years straight, not the other way around, like you might think. $900 every single month to help with their mortgage and bills. Yeah, I've basically been their personal ATM since they were drowning in debt. This whole thing started back when I was just getting settled in my job as a welder at the local factory. Nothing fancy but honest work, you know. The pay wasn't great, but it covered my bills. Since I was single with no kids, I figured I could help them out. I wasn't rolling in money, but I wasn't struggling either. My sister, Emma, a 30-year-old female, and her boyfriend, Tyler, a 33-year-old male, were too proud to straight up ask for help, so I stepped up because that's what family does, right? I told myself it was just going to be for a little while, just until they got back on their feet. They seemed grateful at first. With all the OMG, you're a lifesaver and we'll pay you back soon texts. But then, 1 month turned into 6 months, then a year. Before I knew what the hell happened, I'd been bankrolling them for 4 years with zero payback. Trust me, my life took a hit because of it. No vacations for me. I haven't been on a trip in years. Forget about saving for a house. I barely had money left to enjoy my own damn life. My diet turned into ramen 4 nights a week. And not even the fancy kind, just the sad 30-cent brick you drown in hot water and pray it doesn't taste like regret. My buddy Mike was always like, "Dude, you coming to the game this weekend?" I'd have to make up some excuse about being busy. Truth was, I couldn't afford the tickets after sending Emma money. My fun budget was basically non-existent. And dating? Oh man, what a joke. I'd meet someone, things would be going great. Then reality would hit. Dates cost money. And when you're picking between dinner with a girl or keeping your sister and her boyfriend from defaulting on their mortgage, you kind of start looking like a broke loser. I actually had one girl straight up ask me, "Why don't you ever take me anywhere nice?" What was I supposed to say? Because my sister and her fiancé are financially incompetent, and I'm too much of a pushover to cut them off? Yeah, real attractive. So, I just started avoiding serious relationships. What was the point? Any girl I dated deserved someone who could actually afford a weekend trip, or even just a dinner that didn't involve a dollar menu. Meanwhile, Emma would send me pics of them struggling, bills spread out on the table, looking all stressed. And like an idiot, I kept wiring the money. The worst part? I was busting my a-hole to make it happen. 10-hour days in a welding shop, hotter than Satan's armpit, sparks flying everywhere. Coming home exhausted, filthy, and sore, just to do it all again the next day. My hands are basically just permanent calluses at this point, and every extra hour I worked, that money went straight to them. Then one day, they announced they were getting married. I thought finally they'll tell me they don't need my help anymore. I figured maybe, just maybe, Emma would say, "Hey bro, thanks for carrying us, we can handle it from here." But nope. Instead, Emma called me up, all excited, asking if I could help pay for the wedding too. I remember sitting on my couch that night, phone in hand, just staring at the wall like, is this for real? When I finally managed to say something, it came out like, "Emma, I already send you $900 every month. I can't give any more." She went quiet for a good 10 seconds, like she couldn't believe I'd say no, like I was the a-hole for not wanting to fund their fancy wedding after paying their bills for years. The call ended awkwardly, and I just sat there thinking about all the things I could have done with that money. A down payment on a house, a better car instead of my crappy '05 Civic that wheezes in the rain, a decent vacation instead of spending my 1 week off sitting in my apartment. Yeah, forget it, but whatever, I figured she'd understand. I figured Tyler would step up and handle his own wedding like a grown-a-whole man. But he didn't. Fast forward a couple of months to my dad's birthday at my grandma's house, a big family thing, tons of food, kids running around everywhere, everyone arguing about who made the best barbecue sauce, like they do every year. Emma and Tyler show up, looking happy as hell, like they didn't have a care in the world. The weird thing is, they pulled up in a brand new Jeep Cherokee. Still had the dealer tags new. When I stepped outside to grab another soda from the cooler, I stopped and just stared at it. Tyler saw me looking and walked over. "Sweet ride, huh?" he said, patting the hood like he was in a damn car commercial. "Yeah, when did you get this?" I asked, trying not to sound like I was interrogating him. He mumbled something about a special lease deal through work and quickly changed the subject to how the Bears were going to suck again this year. Total love if you ask me. No way a struggling couple gets approved for a new car lease. Then I noticed Emma was wearing this fancy watch I'd never seen before. Nothing crazy expensive like a Rolex, but definitely not the $30 Target special she used to wear. When my cousin Penny commented on it during dinner, Emma just said it was a lucky find at a pawn shop and winked at Tyler. Something felt off. If they were so broke they needed my $900 every month, how were they affording all this new stuff? I tried to do the math in my head. Even with both their jobs, minus their mortgage, bills, and my loan that never gets paid back, they shouldn't have enough left for brand new cars and jewelry. But I pushed the thought away. Maybe I was just being jealous or something. Later that night, I was grabbing some ice from the freezer in the garage when I overheard Tyler talking to my Uncle Rick about some investment he'd made that was paying off big time. They were standing just around the corner, and Tyler was saying something about getting in on the ground floor and how they were seeing serious returns already. When I walked around the corner with my ice, Tyler immediately shut up and started talking about football instead. Super obvious switch up. Uncle Rick looked uncomfortable, like he'd been caught gossiping about someone. On the drive home after the party, I couldn't stop thinking about it. The new car, the watch, the hushed conversation about investments. For people who supposedly needed my help to pay their basic bills, they sure seemed to be doing fine with the extras. I even texted my buddy Darren, who works at the Jeep dealership. Hey man, what's a new Cherokee go for these days? The answer made me nearly drive off the road. Even with the best possible lease deal, they'd be paying at least $400 a month. Where the hell was that money coming from? But I still gave them the benefit of the doubt. Maybe they'd gotten lucky somehow. Maybe one of them had gotten a raise they were too embarrassed to tell me about because they'd have to admit they didn't need my money anymore. Maybe Tyler had won some money gambling or something. A week later, Emma texted, asking if I could send the next month's money a few days early because they had a surprise expense. I sent it without asking questions, but I did add, "Everything okay?" She just replied with, "All good now, the best bro." And that was it. That Sunday, I was scrolling through Instagram when I saw Emma had posted pics from a weekend. Trip to Nashville, fancy hotel room, nice restaurants, tickets to some country music show. I sat there staring at my phone, feeling like a complete idiot. Here I was, eating ramen in my crappy apartment, while they were living it up in Nashville with my money. But maybe there was an explanation, right? Maybe the trip was a gift from someone. Maybe they'd been saving up for months. But the doubts had definitely crept in. And once they were there, I started noticing other things too. Little comments here and there, the way they changed the subject whenever money came up around me, the way Tyler would smirk sometimes when I'd mention being tight on cash. I decided to start paying closer attention. If something sketchy was going on, I was going to figure it out. But things were already revealing themselves without me trying. Like one Thursday night, I was having a coffee with a dude who works at the same construction company as Tyler. I'll call him Carson. Just making conversation, I asked if the company was doing well. "Hell yeah," Carson said, taking a swig of his beer. "They just gave everyone bonuses after that big hospital contract came through. Tyler's been bragging about his for weeks." I nearly choked on my beer. "Bonus? How much we talking about?" Carson shrugged. "Don't know exactly, but he said it was enough to finally start that investment portfolio his financial advisor recommended. Kept showing everyone some app on his phone with stocks and love. Financial advisor, investment portfolio, while I was sending them $900 of my hard-earned cash every month, while I was working overtime and eating like a broke college student. When did he get this bonus? I asked, trying to sound casual. I don't know, like 4 months ago, maybe 5. Everyone in the crew got one. 5 freaking months of still taking my money while sitting on a bonus. 5 months of me sweating my a-hole off for extra shifts while they were meeting with financial advisors. The next day, I called my grandma and asked if I could come over to help her with some yard work. She's getting older and has trouble with the heavier stuff, plus I wanted to hear what she thinks. So, while we were pulling weeds, I casually brought up Emma and Tyler's finances. Grandma got real quiet, then she stood up, dusted off her hands and said, "Come inside, Jake. There's something you should know." We sat at her kitchen table, and she looked me straight in the eyes. "They've been lying to you, sweetheart, and not just little white lies." According to Grandma, Emma and Tyler had been bragging to the whole family about this amazing investment opportunity they'd gotten into about 2 years back. Some kind of real estate development deal that was bringing in serious money every quarter. The thing is, it was originally meant for you, Grandma explained. Your Uncle Pete told Tyler about it first. But Tyler convinced him that you wouldn't be interested because you were bad with money and wouldn't understand the opportunity. Then they used the cash you've been sending them to buy in themselves. I just sat there, feeling like someone had sucker punched me. 2 years they'd been making money off an investment meant for me, while I'd been sending them my hard-earned cash the whole time. There's more, Grandma continued, her voice getting angrier. I'd never seen her like this before. They laugh at you, Jake, call you their personal ATM, say you're too dumb to ever figure it out. Emma even told your cousin Penny that as long as they acted broke, you'd keep sending the money. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. My own sister had been stealing from me, lying to me and laughing at me behind my back for years. Why didn't anyone tell me? I asked, my voice barely above a whisper. Grandma sighed. We thought you knew. Emma told everyone you were just helping them out while they got their investment going. It wasn't until last month, when she was bragging about how you were still sending them money, that I realized you had no idea. I went home that night and dug out all my bank statements from the past 4 years. Almost $35,000. That's how much I'd sent them. $35,000 that could have been in my investment account. That could have been a down payment on my house. That could have gotten me out of my crappy apartment with the neighbors who fight at 3 a.m. I spent the next few days digging deeper. I found out from another buddy that Tyler had quit his construction job months ago and was now managing their investments full-time. Meanwhile, Emma was still at her reception job at the office, but was constantly taking days off for shopping trips with the girls. And the whole time, I was busting my a-hole at the welding shop, working overtime just to make ends meet and still send them money. Do you have any idea how hot it gets in a welding shop in the middle of summer with broken AC? Hot enough that you lose 5 pounds in sweat every shift. That's the kind of work I was doing to fund their lifestyle. I decided I wasn't going to explode or make a big scene. I was going to handle this like an adult. So, I waited. Like clockwork, on the first of the month, Emma called for the money. Hey Jake, she said, all casual, like we just talked yesterday. Just checking in. How's work going? Things still crazy at the shop? It's fine, I said, keeping my voice neutral. Same old, same old. That's good, she said, not really interested. Then came the real reason for her call. Oh, can you send this month's money a bit early? We're thinking of redoing the kitchen backsplash before the wedding. I almost laughed. Kitchen backsplash? Really? I took a deep breath. Yeah, about that, I said. I'm actually having some money problems myself. I won't be able to send anything this month. The silence on the other end was deafening. Then, wait, you mean just this month, right? You're still helping us after that? I don't know, Emma. I've been covering your bills for 4 years. I think it's time I focused on myself for a change. Maybe use my money for my own investments. I emphasized that last part, waiting to see if she'd pick up on it. The silence on the other end stretched even longer. When she finally spoke, her voice had an edge to it. What's that supposed to mean? It means I know about the real estate deal that was meant for me. The one you and Tyler have been making money from while still taking my cash. Another long silence. She didn't even try to deny it. Jake, it's not what you think. No, I cut her off. So you're not making money off an investment that Uncle Pete originally told Tyler about for me? You haven't been lying to me for years while laughing at me behind my back? Who told you that? Her voice was angry now. Does it matter? It's true, isn't it? She didn't answer. I took a deep breath. I'm done, Emma. No more money, ever. You and Tyler can live off your amazing investments from now on. I hung up before she could respond. My hands were shaking, but man, it felt good. Like I'd been carrying around 100-pound weight for 4 years and finally put it down. Emma called me back immediately. I didn't pick up. She called again and again and again. I turned my phone off. When I turned it back on the next morning, I had 17 missed calls from Emma, 8 from Tyler, and about 30 text messages ranging from, "We need to talk," to "You're making a huge mistake," to "I can't believe you do this to family." I blocked them all, and honestly, I felt free. I celebrated that night by ordering a pizza. A whole pizza. Just for me, with all the toppings I wanted. It was the first time in years I'd spent money on something just because I wanted it, not because it was the cheapest option. 2 days later, Tyler showed up at my apartment. I didn't let him in, just talked to him through the chain door. Jake, man, this is all a big misunderstanding, he started, trying to sound friendly. Yeah, we did that investment thing, but it wasn't really meant for you specifically. Pete just mentioned it to a bunch of people. Really? I said. And I guess you weren't laughing at me behind my back either? Tyler's face fell. Look, people say stupid stuff sometimes when they're drinking. It didn't mean anything. Get out of here, Tyler, I said, starting to close the door. I'm done being your ATM. He put his foot in the door. Jake, you don't understand. We need that money. The investment. It's not doing so well right now. We're kind of counting on your help. I stared at him in disbelief. Are you serious? You're still trying to get money out of me after everything I now know? It's just temporary, he insisted. Once the market bounces back. I pushed the door hard, forcing his foot out. Guess you should have saved some of my money instead of buying new cars and watches. Not my problem anymore. I slammed the door in his face and locked it. Through the door I could hear him cursing. You're making a big mistake, Jake. We're family. Yeah, they sure as hell hadn't treated me like family. That night, I opened up a savings account and deposited the $900 I would have sent to Emma. First deposit of many, I told myself. First step toward building my future instead of bankrolling theirs. A week after cutting them off, I got a call from Uncle Pete. This was weird. We weren't particularly close. He's my dad's younger brother and always seemed more interested in his business deals than family stuff. Got a minute? He asked. I need to talk to you about something important. We met at this local diner near my place. Pete looked uncomfortable as he slid into the booth across from me. So I heard what happened with Emma and Tyler, he started, stirring his coffee even though he hadn't put anything in it about the money and the investment opportunity. I just nodded, waiting for him to continue. I wasn't sure if he was there to chew me out or what. Look, I feel terrible about this, he said, surprising me. That real estate deal? I really did mean it for you. Tyler convinced me you weren't interested. That you were too cautious. With money, said you told him investing was too risky for your blood. I should have talked to you directly. Yeah, you should have, I agreed, probably more sharply than necessary, but come on, I was still pissed. Pete sighed and ran a hand through his hair. Well, I'm here to make it right. That original deal was just the beginning. We've got a new opportunity coming up, even better than the first. I want you in on it, for real this time. I raised an eyebrow. Why should I trust you now? Because I've cut Tyler out completely, Pete said firmly. When I found out what they did, I pulled some strings. They're not part of any future deals. And he slid a folder across the table. I've got all the documentation right here for you to review. Take it to a lawyer if you want, seriously. I opened the folder and scanned the contents. It looked legit, a commercial property development with projections that made my eyes widen. We're talking multi-family units in an up-and-coming area just outside the city. This is the real deal, Pete continued, tapping the papers. And I've already put your name down for a share. Consider it making up for lost time. I studied him, trying to decide if I could trust him. The guy had never really given me a reason not to trust him before. But then again, I had trusted Emma. And look how that turned out. I'll think about it, I finally said, closing the folder. Pete nodded. That's fair, just don't wait too long. Breaking ground next month. After he left, I called one of my friends who works in real estate to look over the documents. I scanned everything and emailed it to him. He called me back that night. Dude, this is legit, he said. Really solid investment. The area is blowing up right now, and these projections might actually be conservative. If I had the cash, I'd get in on this myself. The next day, I made my decision. I called Pete and told him I was in. I cashed out the small $401k from my old job, only about $7,000 because I hadn't been able to contribute much while supporting Emma, and put down every cent I'd saved up since stopping payments to Emma and Tyler. It was a risk, but sometimes you have to take chances. Pete said he'd get all the paperwork ready. 3 days later, Emma called from a number I didn't recognize, so I actually picked up. Jake, please, we need to talk, she begged. Her voice was different now, desperate. Things are bad, really bad. The investment went south. We're behind on the mortgage, and the wedding venue is threatening to cancel if we don't make a payment by Friday. That sounds rough, I said, not offering any help. Jake, please, her voice cracked. I know we messed up. I know we hurt you, but we're truly desperate here. Could you just help us one more time just to get back on our feet? I laughed. You mean like how I helped you for 4 years while you were stealing investment opportunities from me and laughing about it behind my back? We're family, she whispered. Funny how you only remember that when you need something, I replied. Good luck with your problems, Emma. I've got my own investments to worry about now. What investments? She asked sharply. Oh, Uncle Pete didn't tell you? He's offered me a spot in the new development, the one you and Tyler got kicked out of. The silence was deafening. Then, you can't be serious. Pete promised those spots to us. Not anymore, I said, enjoying this more than I probably should have. Turns out he doesn't like being lied to either. Bye, Emma. I hung up and blocked that number too. The next day, my buddy Carson from Tyler's old construction company called. Dude, you won't believe this. Tyler showed up today, begging for his job back. Boss told him to get lost. Turns out he left by telling everyone to go screw themselves because he was set for life with his investments. I couldn't help but smile. Their perfect little world was falling apart, and I hadn't had to do a thing except stop propping it up. It's like they say. Sometimes the best revenge is just sitting back and watching karma do its thing. About 2 weeks after I hung up on Emma, my mom called. This wasn't unusual, we talk pretty regularly, but her tone was different. Jake, she said, I just got off the phone with your sister. She's not doing well. I sighed. Mom, I know what you're going to say. But no. Hear me out, she interrupted. I'm not asking you to give her money, not after what she did. But she's a mess, Jake. She and Tyler are fighting constantly. The wedding's been postponed indefinitely. She says they might lose the house. Part of me wanted to say, good, they deserve it. But I couldn't bring myself to be that harsh, especially to my mom. Instead, I just said, I'm sorry to hear that, but it's not my problem anymore. Mom was quiet for a moment. I understand. And for what it's worth, I think you did the right thing cutting them off. I just thought you should know what's happening. The next day, Grandma called and asked me to come over for lunch. When I got there, she had my favorite sandwich waiting, turkey with the works, and her homemade potato salad that's basically the best thing ever. I heard Emma and Tyler are having troubles, she said as we ate. I nodded. Mom told me. Good, Grandma said, surprising me. Maybe they'll learn something from all this. I stared at her. You're not going to tell me I should help them? She shook her head firmly. Absolutely not. They took advantage of your kindness for years. Actions have consequences. She took a sip of her iced tea. Besides, I have something to tell you. I've had a long talk with Pete about that investment. Yeah? I asked, curious. He says it's going even better than expected. They've already got commitments for most of the units before they've even broken ground. That's great news. Yes, it is, she agreed. And I want you to know, I'm proud of you, Jake. Not just for standing up for yourself, but for how you've handled all this. No screaming matches, no big public drama, you just quietly did what needed to be done. Hearing that from Grandma meant a lot. She's always been the wise one in the family, the one everyone goes to for advice. But then came the family dinner. My mom hosts one every month or so, and I almost skipped this one, worried that Emma and Tyler would be there and it would be awkward. But Mom assured me they had other plans, so I went. What I didn't expect was for Emma to show up anyway, alone, right as we were finishing dessert. She looked terrible. Her hair was thrown up in a messy bun, not the carefully styled waves she usually had. No makeup, dark circles under her eyes. She was wearing an old sweatshirt I recognized from her college days. Sorry I'm late, she mumbled, not making eye contact with anyone, especially me. Mom jumped up. Emma, I thought you couldn't make it. Let me fix you a plate. The rest of us sat in awkward silence. I focused on my pie, pushing the last few crumbs around with my fork. After Mom brought Emma some food, she picked at it half-heartedly. Then, out of nowhere, she looked up at me. Tyler moved out, she announced, her eyes all watery in love. The table went silent. I kept my face completely neutral, not falling for the sympathy play. He said it was my fault for ruining our future by pissing you off. She continued, voice cracking perfectly, like she'd practiced it. Said, if I hadn't been so greedy, we'd still have your money coming in every month. I raised an eyebrow. So it's your fault he lied to me for years? Not the fact that you both stole from me and laughed about it? She looked down at her plate, doing that thing where she pushes food around to look sad. Classic. Emma move. Been doing it since we were kids when she wanted to get out of trouble. That was both of us. But he's not the person I thought he was. No kidding, my Uncle Rick muttered, earning a glare from my mom. Anyway, Emma continued with a little sniff, I just wanted you to know that I'm sorry, really sorry. What we did was wrong, and I don't expect you to forgive me or help me or anything. I just needed to say it. Right, she just needed to say it. Not because she needed a place to stay or money or anything. Sure, the manipulation was obvious. The timing of the apology right after Tyler left, the tears that appeared. On command, the way she kept glancing at Mom to make sure she was watching this whole performance. Thanks for saying that, I finally replied, keeping my voice flat. I appreciate the sentiment. The rest of the dinner was tense. Emma left early, saying she had an early shift the next day. Translation: her guilt trip didn't work, so she was cutting her losses. After she was gone, my mom turned to me. She's moving back home next week, Mom said, just until she can figure things out. They're selling the house, too far underwater on the mortgage apparently. Of course she was moving home. The free ride was over, and she needed a new host. At home, I checked my email and saw a message from Pete with an update on the investment. Things were moving even faster than expected. They had secured all the permits, and were starting construction, 2 weeks ahead of schedule. The projected return was now even higher than originally estimated. Everything was going right for me finally. 6 months later, my life had changed completely. Pete's real estate deal turned out to be even better than expected. We sold the development pre-construction for nearly double the projected profit. My initial investment had multiplied several times over. I didn't go crazy with the money or anything, no Ferrari in the driveway. But I did put a down payment on a small house closer to work. Nothing fancy, just a 2-bedroom with a decent yard, but it's mine. For the first time in years, I wasn't just surviving, I was thriving. Then one night, my phone buzzed. It was a number I didn't recognize, but at this point, I had a bad feeling. I let it go to voicemail. A minute later, a notification popped up. I hit play, already bracing myself. Jake, I don't know what to do anymore. I've lost everything. I've screwed up my life so badly, and I have no one. I know I don't deserve your help after everything. But I'm scared. Please, I don't even care about money. I just need my brother right now. Mom's house is full, and I don't have anywhere else to go. I don't even recognize my own life anymore. Tyler is gone, the house is gone. Everything I worked for, everything I thought I had, it's just gone. I can't do this alone. Please, Jake, please don't turn your back on me. I stared at the phone. She still had the nerve. I'd give her that. I could imagine her sitting in her car somewhere, rehearsing the exact right mix of sadness and humility to make this sound genuine. But I wasn't buying it. I deleted the voicemail without a second thought. Then came the texts. Emma, Jake, I'm serious. I have nowhere to go. Please, just a couch. That's all I need for now. I wouldn't ask if I wasn't desperate. I let my phone sit there, face up on the coffee table, while I finished my dinner. For the first time in a long time, I felt no guilt. None. She had years of my help, and she threw it away, laughed at me behind my back, built a whole life off my money, and expected me to never notice. And now that she was finally facing real consequences, that wasn't my problem anymore. She wasn't my responsibility. A few hours later, my mom called. Jake, have you talked to Emma? I sighed. Yeah, she left me a voicemail and some texts. Mom hesitated, and I already knew what was coming. She's really struggling, honey. No, I cut her off. Jake, no. Mom, I am done with her. She burned that bridge, and now she can swim. She had a house, she had money, she had a fiancé, and she threw it all away because she got greedy. She chose this. Mom was quiet for a long time, then she sighed. I know you're right, but she's still your sister. I clenched my jaw. No, Mom, she was my sister. But the sister I had wouldn't have stolen from me for 4 years, wouldn't have laughed at me behind my back, wouldn't have only come crawling back when she lost everything. That Emma? She's gone. More silence, then quietly. Okay. I understand. That was the last time I talked about Emma. She didn't text again, didn't call again. Maybe she finally realized she'd exhausted every last ounce of goodwill I had. Maybe she finally understood she'd reached the end of the line. Life went on. The second development with Pete went even better than the first. I finished my certification and got promoted at work. I started dating a cool girl named Alicia, who works as an office manager in one of our development sites. The best part? I sleep like a baby every night, knowing I'm not being played anymore. Sometimes, cutting toxic people out of your life is the best investment you can make.